Hey, welcome back to the workshop. Great to have you here today. On today's episode, I'm going to do a quick little leaf. We're going to make a leaf keyring, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be using techniques and design inspired from Brian Brazil and Jacob Farm, two smiths whose work I greatly admire, and it's going to be a huge amount of fun. Thanks for joining me. Okay, so I've got a piece of half-inch square in the fire right now. Forge is rocking away, getting it nice and hot, and I'm going to forge this leaf. So the first thing that I'm going to go ahead and do here is I'm going to forge a steep and obtuse taper on this tip. My hammer's a little oily, so it's a little slippery. Forge a steep and obtuse taper on the tip of the bar. My hammer is very slippery. And with this steep and obtuse taper, you could make a leaf, but I want to do a slightly different design of leaf. So I'm going to lower my angle, extend it, come back a little bit. Then I'm going to take a cube, and I'm going to come over the far edge of the anvil. This is making opposing two-sided tapers, because I bring down the far edge of the anvil right here, and then I'm going to come back to the near edge of the anvil. All of this is with my round die, half on, half off the edges of the anvil. And what we're doing is we're dividing it up, simply dividing up the material. And it's very effective. You'll see that we can keep the metal nice and warm as we work. And it's really the only way to create a reverse taper simply and easily without having to really waste a lot of material prepping it. With the hand hammer, this is the best way to get a reverse taper. That is for sure. Now this is a technique that I picked up from Brian Brazil. And that's the only place of origins that I've seen this technique. Of course, I may be missing a lot of other context as to how this technique came about, but it's a lovely technique. I really recommend that you get proficient at it. On this channel, there is a video where I actually go into much more depth about how to do the two-sided tapers, so go check that out. I think there's also a PDF that you can download too that walks you through it in a really detailed fashion. I'd go check that out. It'll be on the channel somewhere, or I'll link it in the description below. There we go. But I'm using a 3.5 pound squircle is the nickname, square circle. One of my hammers. Half-inch square is just mild steel bar. That's all we need. That's all we need. And now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to make it into an octagon, which I can only do by working over the edges, and then working on the diagonal right here. Make it into a little octagon, and then I can start rounding it off from the thick down to the thin. Okie dokie. It's a little bent and twisted. A couple of hammer blows should fix that right up. So now it's about ready. It's about time for us to make the leaf portion of this. So I'm going to shove that back in the fire, and I'm going to talk you through some of the tools that I'm going to be using for this. This here is called a farm fuller. So it's essentially a ball fuller that's been cut in half. So it's almost a butcher and almost a fuller. And then this here is another tool Jacob actually made when he was here in October of 2015. And this simply is a fuller line down the middle of a fuller, making like a swage, a fuller swage. Fuller swage is the technical term for it. Okay, throw that back down there. Now I'm going to turn it up on the diagonal. Make it just a little prouder than the stem. Then I'm going to take that fuller swage. Stuck. There we go. Take that fuller swage and see if we can get that set in there. See how well that goes. So I'm going to give it a light blow, see if that's in line with my stem. Yep. That's close enough. Oh, in the famous words of Brian Brazil, if you want it perfect, make it perfect. But I'm simply going to run that all the way up my piece. And then I'm going to come back a little close to the stem. You'll notice all that's laid out in the colder temperatures. Much easier to lay that stuff out when it's a little colder. Nice thing about this small material is it doesn't take a lot of force to move it around. This is a great, you can have a tiny, tiny little forge, burn just pittances of propane and practice this stuff all day. You can go to work, come home, light a tiny little forge. In like 5 minutes, it'll be hot. You can have a little anvil. You could even sit down making projects like this. And I assure you how worthwhile it would be for your hobby just to practice these things. It was making little leaves and trinkets that I would sell at craft sales where I really think my forging it's certainly one of the things, pardon me, that helped me improve my forging as much as possible, or to a very large degree. So it's taking on a little curve, so I've got to follow that around. And I'm going to take one more pass, make it just a sliver deeper. There we go. And now I'm going to lay out my Farm Fuller, see if we can fit that in there. So which way am I going to do it? This way or that way? I'm going to do it this way. And I'm going to start almost horizontal, almost perpendicular to the stem. Not quite. I'm just going to mark it all out at these lower temperatures. I'm not really trying to forge too much. I'm just trying to get it there. Change my angle. Change the angle the whole way as I move up. And this is all Jacob Farm and Brian Brazil inspired stuff. Jacob took a lot of inspiration from Brian's, oh goodness, I missed that one. I don't like where that is, oh well. From Brian's stuff. And I'm conglomerating the two right here, right now in this little project. If you don't know any context right here, Brian Brazil is the person that taught me how to make tools. Wonderful man, terrific blacksmith, terrifically good at hand forging. He taught me how to make tools, and essentially was the foundation and backbone of all of my forging. So were it not for Brian, I wouldn't be doing any of this stuff. Really, he really helped the snowball keep rolling for me, which is a lovely, lovely thing. Uh-oh, not hot enough. I really want to thank you guys for all the lovely comments on my video yesterday about patience. Is patience a virtue? I found that a very enjoyable video to make, and I like thinking about ideas. So it's good to be able to have a channel where you guys welcome me talking about ideas. Sometimes, as opposed to just the good old hot steel. And I dare say the good old hot steel is quite good. So I won't negate the hot steel too much in the future. But I do like those little videos there. They're very enjoyable to make. Too much on that one. One of the great things you see there's a little spot there, which I don't like. I'm gonna see if it'll blend in. It might not. But one of the best things that I learned from Brian Brazil was to not go too fast. Pardon me, too far, too fast. Which was one of the reasons that little bad spot occurred. You take your time with things. You do a little bit from one end and a little bit from the other end. And you bring down all the different areas that you're forging so that, it hopefully goes together nice and smoothly. Ooh, noises outside. Nice thing about the small stuff, heats up super fast. I've already said that, haven't I? I think I already have said that. Okay, now it's hot. Now I'm going to run back through the whole thing a little bit deeper. Probably even go up a little. Oh no, that's too high. But I got to match it on the other one. Oh goodness, I broke it. Oh well, it'll still look cool. I'm now at this lower temperature. I'm going to run this fuller back down it That should crisp it all up.
Awesome. Something I didn't think about when I was prepping the stuff to get ready to do this little project here. I didn't think about one of the best parts of all of this, which is you need a little wood block. And I'm sure I have a little wood block somewhere. Found a wood block. And I'm going to take a ball fuller from over this end of the workshop. I'm going to drive this into the wood. Hopefully without splitting it. See if we can get a little depression in it. And now it's always a good idea to put a glove on for this. I flip it upside down, stem facing down, and I take my ball fuller. And I pop it over the wood. What that tends to do is it tends to give it a nice curve, as you can see, right there. Gives it a really nice curve. And I think it makes for an incredibly aesthetically pleasing object. Like this. So then I have a little bit of heat, so I can light it up a little. I'm going to light up that near-sided taper. Get it hot. Make it octagon. Make it a little bit round. And then we're going to quickly poke it back in the fire. I don't want that leaf to get too hot though. I don't want it to be oxidizing, because otherwise it takes the crispness away from the surface. So I'm going to quickly take it out before it is too hot. Put a little bend on it. And here is one of my favorite things, and this is again something I picked up from Brian Brazil. Oh, just like most things. Wonderful. I've learned so much from him. I put this 90-degree bend on there, and I then grip the leaf, and I roll away from it, and I roll, 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 and I roll. Drop the piece to the ground. Okay, and now I'm going to take a pair of scrolling pliers, and you can do this without necessarily having a pair of scrolling pliers. You can do it on the horn of the anvil just fine. I like the scrolling pliers. It gives me an extra degree of control, and I personally found it makes it a little bit faster. So that's always a good thing. So I'm going to grip the leaf, and I'm going to first put a bend away from the direction of the leaf, as counterintuitive as it sounds. Put my hammer onto the ground, and now I'm going to come back around. And of course, we can always just tweak and adjust however the aesthetics dictate. Okay, there we go. If you want to put the little bead down, you can do. I think I quite like the aesthetics of that. And yeah, it's got a nice curve to it, nice and flowing, nice and natural. And I think that's a good positive to have. So if I can finally grip it, I'm going to take a wire brush, and we are going to give it a wire brush. I'm of course going to zoom you in on this camera right here, which doesn't have a zoom, it's a prime lens. So, where are we? So I'm going to focus you up. Far fuller swage, far fuller on the stem, on the veins. I call that an absolute success. I definitely suggest that if you're not familiar with the names Brian Brazil and Jacob Farham, you look them up. I'll put a link to Jacob Farham's Instagram page below. Incredible Instagram. He makes beautiful work. Go check it out. Other than that, blah, blah, blah. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you've enjoyed it. It's an interesting little different way of making the video. Let me know how you like it. If you want me to make more of these videos, even if it's a subject that I don't really know how to work on, that I knew how to do. I think I've made one of that little design before, and I was looking at it the other day, and I thought, you know what? This is going to make a great video if I do a video about this. So I did, and here we are. Thank you very much for watching. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on the next episode. Thank you again. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.